So I'm going into the rabbit hole of motorcycling, and as we all know, especially in America, it's very dangerous statistically. Now, there are things you can do to be safe, such as not speeding, not going fast through corners, again, not speeding. Learning all these basic rules. You can find a bunch of videos online for that. But something that's not talked about is your choice of gear. All right. So the idea is there's a bunch of gear out there and you can buy whatever, right? Normal gear is you wear what you're wearing. Jeans. Actually, the normal gear doesn't even involve motorcycle jeans, but yeah, you should definitely get motorcycle jeans. So you wear underwear, usually, whatever that might be, compression or not. You wear your socks, regular socks or high socks, for street riding. Over that, you wear some good motorcycle jeans, motorcycle boots, motorcycle gloves, a motorcycle helmet. Maybe if you don't want your helmet to get stinky, or you don't have washable liners, you wear like a racing balaclava, just something thin to create a sweat stopper to not make your helmet all stinky. And then on your top, so you wear your jeans over your underwear, which everything is going to be armor based now. This is the typical old style motorcycle gear. Armors for your knees. Maybe they have ones for your shins, but like I said, we're just talking the basics. So knees, hips are what you come in your pants generally. And then on your jacket, which is worn over just your typical t-shirt, comes your t-shirt can be short sleeve. It doesn't matter. The jacket's meant to protect you. That comes with elbow protectors, shoulder protectors, and a back protector. Those are like the basic parts of it. Now, the new age stuff has shown us that airbags are way better and more comfy, actually, and suited for this purpose. Some people are getting rid of armor, which I wouldn't. I'm still torn about getting rid of armor because, like I said, I don't know how well or trustable these airbags are in terms of deploying. So if, like, at the very least, the key area probably would be to keep your back armor on. You know, you can keep armor where the airbag doesn't cover, obviously, like hips or knees, unless you have an airbag that covers all that, which they do sell one, but it's in France and you got to order it from them. So anyway, that's the new age stuff. But just considering that you have these layers, you have how many layers on generally? You have 2 layers on your top, not including underwear, but you have a layer on your top and then a motorcycle jacket, and that's it. And then on your bottom, you just have jeans, 1 layer. That's it. Obviously, if you count underwear, that's another layer, like socks or whatever. But here's the real problem, right? That's a very nimble setup. So the modern approach, or the old approach, the typical approach, has been this setup, right? Just wear a jacket, a motorcycle rated jacket, and motorcycle rated jeans, and you're good to go. You have 2 layers, which keeps you nimble, and part of safety in anything, when you're doing sports specifically, is your level of nimbleness. I like to call it your nimbility. So this isn't talked about, where you're picking gear, and also you're picking gear you don't, unless you go to the store and can see, which they don't always have the coolest, best gear online in the stores. I mean, they have it online. You got to order it. You won't be able to tell the thickness. You won't be able to tell the, stretchiness, all of that, or the thermalness qualities of it until you go out and you use it. And you won't even be able to tell if you're wearing it with certain gear, and other gear makes it more complicated because you wear it with this shirt and it feels warm. When you wear it with this thing, it feels cooler. You don't know all this, right? But the more important aspect of safety, and at least as it comes to like motorcycles and also as probably skiing and other things, mountain biking, is your nimbility. Meaning if you wear too many layers, your nimbility goes down. So yes, you can wear an iron suit. Actually, that wouldn't really help you much. That would still transfer impacts. But I'm just using that as a metaphor, but the problem is, just as important as saving your ass in a crash is preventing a crash, which means wearing things that you can move around in and control the bike to prevent yourself from getting into a crash. So the idea is, you can buy all these products, but you have to think of your gear as a system. You have to think of it, every part of it in every season, for every temperature and also humidity, I guess you could argue, of riding. You have to think of those temperature things. And what that means is not having too many layers, and also sizing the gear that you plan to buy for the amount of layers that it's going to be going over, not your normal typical measurements, depending on how thick the material you're buying is. If I'm buying like an insulated jacket and then I'm putting an airbag over that, and that jacket is already adding like 6 centimeters to my chest measurement, then I gotta buy the size that fits over that. Now that's pretty simple, but the idea is, especially when it comes to today's market of shit, I'm noticing is specifically the airbag systems are limited. You cannot find an airbag that does all these things. Immobilizes your neck properly in all directions. Obviously, assuming your helmet stays on. And protects your shoulders. And protects, with level 2, your back and your chest, which are really important parts of the body to protect in an accident. So I don't want to go, let's say I don't want to go level 1, right? We're talking max protection, right? Obviously, you're trading the nimbility for protection. That's a common thing that you see in gear. You go higher protection, but the gear becomes stiffer, becomes more or less nimble, which is a compromise I'm willing to take. But my point is that you got to think about it in terms of that. So I was thinking, for instance, summer riding, right? Another thing that goes down besides nimbility, or you could say goes up when you increase layers, is your temperature. Each layer you put on increases the temperature of that your body has to do homeostasis against, has to burn calories or sweat more to get rid of, but then that sweat doesn't do anything because you're insulated because of the layers, so your temperature goes up. And in a lot of hot climates, at least for me, I'm a very hot person. Now maybe if I lost weight, that would solve all my issues here, and I wouldn't even be looking at these products. But the Comp Cooler, right? It's a company that makes a bunch of products for cooling. And in my eyes, staying nimble on a motorcycle means reducing weight. So the ones that use ice solutions and water are cool, great. Maybe it doesn't matter if you're already using a giant like Goldwing huge bike that you're on, and 5 pounds or 6 pounds of water in that cooling tank won't really change much. And also you're able to refill it, because I think those tanks last like 6 hours, so no one's gonna ride 6 straight hours. I mean, maybe 8 hours in a day you could drive, yeah. But on a motorcycle, it's really hard, even if it is a really comfy motorcycle. So ice could be a good solution, but a problem with ice is you probably have to stop at a hotel to get it for free. Otherwise, you're going to pay at a gas station. So I prefer the more sensible approach, which I think is less weight as far as I can tell because of how I know some stuff about HVAC, which is a compressor based solution. So you know, you use refrigerant instead of just using cold water, which gets hot over time. You use refrigerant and you cool water with it. Same way a geothermal heat pump works. And this is better because you're not storing energy in weight, okay? In extra weight. A battery, ice is like a battery. So you're storing the energy, the cool energy, you could think of it as weight. But you already have a battery in the motorcycle, and that battery is being charged constantly. And it's already built into the motorcycle. The weight is accounted for. You know, you're not adding weight. And so in this case, depending on the construction of the compressor material, and hell, I hope in one day they can make like micro compressors or like whatever that can work like without having a giant, you know, pack on your body, kind of like the passive systems they have in refrigerators. They don't always have fans that blow on the evaporator to make the refrigerator cold. They just use the I forget how those work, but they're like more passive air systems, I think. I might be wrong. But yeah, it would be cool if they made something like that, or even if it did have a fan on the condenser that just sits on your jacket. But right now they don't. They make them using pretty big packs that sit on your motorcycle. But I'm pretty sure they're lighter weight than the ice pack solution, because you have the pack and the pump in the ice, and then the ice as well. Whereas here you just have the pack, which has a pump, the compressor, and then refrigerant, which is all really light. So the whole idea is you put this on your motorcycle and then you connect the hoses to you, and boom, bada bing, you're done to whatever garment you decided to buy. And that's the basic gist of it. And they sell some cool products. They sell one that is just attaches to the seat of your motorcycle, which is not something you wear, but it can also be worn. You can also wear a jacket too, so your butt doesn't get hot and your top doesn't. It's not a jacket, it's a vest that goes over like a t-shirt. So, but they also make garments that I believe just go as a t-shirt with veins built in, so they give you a lot of different options. Thing is, airbag systems, I don't know how they're gonna progress, but the idea is I haven't found any airbag that has made your neck immobile and offered CE level 2 chest and back protection. The only one I've seen that actually does it, and also I care about my lats and sides, like my ribs. I want something that does that. Now the airbag that I've seen, the Moto Airbag, that company makes a great one for your chest and back, but it doesn't make anything, as far as I can tell from the videos of someone wearing it. And again, it could inflate differently on you. You should test these, I think. I honestly believe you should test an airbag before you actually use it. So you should deploy it once and then recharge it and see how that airbag does work with the gear setup that you have at least once. I think that's valuable information. But the Moto Airbag doesn't come up, nothing comes up high enough to really prevent your head from going this way, which is hyperflexion. The Moto Airbag does a great job at hyperextension, but hyperflexion, and even worse, it does at doing your left and right, going from left and right. Now, I don't know about you, but I think if your head were to be that way, you're gonna die. So if you can have some like inflatable here that comes up, It'd be great, but the place it does wrap comes up only like that high from the videos I've seen. That ain't gonna do anything. All right, so that's a big issue. Now there is an airbag that almost does this, all of this, and it's not even a external airbag, it's an internal one, and it has no tether, and that is the Tech Air 5 non-plasma, the old version, the gray one. That one, now there's a bunch of airbags out there, and I've looked at the coverage of all of them, and all of them either have CE level 1 coverage, which I don't want that. I want the best. And if you want the best like me, then you're gonna go CE level 2, because you don't know what's gonna happen in a motorcycle accident, in my opinion. And I'm willing to trade on nimbility for that. And sometimes you don't even have to trade on nimbility, because like I said, airbags are pretty impressive things. They keep you nimble, whereas armor does not. Armor weighs your body parts down. It keeps you less nimble. So airbags, you can afford to go CE level 2. So they're either that, or they just don't have much coverage. Like they don't immobilize your neck at all. Like the ones in the racing suits, they go off, and you'll see most times. I mean, they might do the back of that part. They might sit high up on the back. But in race suits, the problem is the shoulders are limited by the groin. So when the airbag goes off inside the race suit pulls up, but the race suit has to pull up the whole body to actually get up here and get near your neck, your head. That doesn't happen in all the cases. Okay? And then it turns out in the Tech Air 5 non-plasma, the same thing happens. If you watch a video of it being deployed underneath a jacket, the jacket doesn't let it fully get up to where it does in another video, which is the only video I've seen, with a guy wearing it without a jacket, and it inflates, and it looks like, oh, that thing will protect your helmet from moving all sorts of directions, which is wonderful. And it's cheap. That's the other great thing about that airbag. It's CE level 2. It's cheap. The only problem is if you are in an accident, which I don't think, if you get into accidents often, whether it be slow ones or fast ones, I don't think you should be riding a motorcycle, personally. Like if I fell, hell, even once, I'd rethink the whole sport, even if it's like a tiny little fall, or if I even drop my bike. That's how strict I am about it, because I'm like, dude, I gotta operate this thing properly. Like, it's gotta be properly operated. So if my airbag goes off, without me intentionally getting in an accident, unintentionally, I'm probably never gonna. I might not ever ride again. I might just be like, that's it. That was my chance, and I don't know if that'll be my mentality, or I'll be like, oh, this is what went wrong, and I need to do that. But you could be that type of person. Maybe 2 falls is what I'm thinking. You should learn all the basics before pushing above your skill. And if it was not a skill-related error and it was more of another driver-related error, then yeah, you could rethink it. But I think that's still a skill-related thing personally, because you can control, at least influence, the time of day you drive in. Nighttime, there's less cars. Or you can decide to go on that road that you wanted, you turned on, which had traffic, or not. It didn't have any traffic, so you went on that road with no traffic, and you can control how many cars are near you, to a degree. Again, I think that it has to do with skill. You have to be at war when you're on a motorcycle. You could be shot from anywhere, kind of thing. But you can also chill out, which is important in terms of like highway driving. You don't drive as evasively, you just kind of stand out. You want to be as visible as you can, take as much space as you can so everyone sees you. But sometimes it's not good depending on the driver. Maybe he's fucking crazy and he wants to kill you. I don't know. Or he has some like craziness built in. He's not even aware he wants to kill you and he just does shit like that, you know. I don't know. So he or she, I don't know how people operate these days, but you never know. You know, it could be built in, a killer instinct. So if from that guy, you don't want to be visible to him. You want to evade him. You want to go fast by him. You want to overtake him and get him out of your vicinity. Or go slow if that's what getting him out of your vicinity means. Wait for him to just move on in traffic, whatever. That's kind of unpredictable, but depends on how you want to drive, right? Like if you're a motorcycle driver and you feel okay in the environment and you have all the safety things, which is another issue, right? There's a lot of safety features on motorcycles, and I think there's key ones to be aware of, and there's key ones to, in my opinion, for maximum safety, if that's what you're after, to chase. So for instance, modulating headlights for daytime use, pretty important in my opinion, to make sure people can at least barely, it doesn't even do that much of a difference, but as much as you can, right? Cornering ABS, you know, something that monitors your lean angle and prevents you from sliding out by either making, like with traction control, by slipping, cornering traction control, cornering ABS, meaning you don't ever lock up your wheel, but you also don't ever slip if it's like rainy. Another good one is combined braking, which can help you balance, well, this one's not too important, but yeah, help you balance how much you use the back brake versus the front brake. It does it for you. If you're a beginner, these matter a lot more as a beginner, I would say, than when you develop that instinct, which again, I haven't. I'm a beginner. But I think it's all important because even advanced riders lean too much, give a little bit of throttle or brake during a turn, and boom, you go down, low side fall. So those technologies they're like assistants, you know, when you're driving. They're like, you don't always need them, but if you hit the threshold that they activate, then you ought to have them, right? That's kind of the logic behind them. You don't want them to activate when you're not at threshold, unless sometimes you want to turn them off for off-road riding, like ABS, and launch control and stuff like that for like skidding. Like I think there's like a rear wheel, I forget, something when you're even like intentionally slipping out the rear wheel. There's like a stability system built for those. And then another big one, I would say, especially if like, I don't think you should be riding a motorcycle if you cannot detect a forward collision. All right, you're supposed to be looking right in front of you most times, right? If you can't detect that, I can imagine in traffic you get kind of lazy and you're like, oh, he's just moving slow. But like, you're on a motorcycle, you ought to have that intuition and, be a little more in tune with the environment to detect a forward collision. But a rear collision, I think this is the one that needs to be implemented on all motorcycles. I don't think it's a big accident when it happens, but it has the potential to be, because depending on how fast the driver behind you is going, motorcycles aren't easily seen even from behind. Like if you're coming up on behind of them, people they're not the size of a car. Lights don't always do it, even at night. Actually, more so in the day, I would say. It's easier to miss a motorcycle when you're just out off work and there's a guy, you're driving and you don't see the thin thing on the road, right? So I think rear collision warning system, whatever it might be, either on the motorcycle or on like a rear dash cam. I was thinking was another good idea. I even thought of like a heads up display on like your helmet, I don't know, or like on meta glasses or something, that show you a little image of the rear at all times. But I honestly think that that going that deep into the technology is not worth it, because it'll take up a little bit of eyesight. And you want to have as much eyesight, visual sight, as possible. So if you have anything constantly on, then it's going to take up your eyesight. Now, again, the technologies aren't substitutes for the ABCs of riding, meaning check your blind spot. Don't rely on just your fucking, do a shoulder glance. Don't just use your automated whatever system you have for that to tell you there's a car there. No. You should look. You should look at where that car is. You should have a very real understanding of your distance to that car at all times. That's the key. If you're stopped at a stoplight, maybe don't go middle. Stay on the left or right. I think that's already a rule. Middle third, or the left third, or the right third of the lane to exit. Because if, let's say, in your rear mirror, which I think you should always use your mirrors on motorcycles, even though some people get rid of them. In your rear mirror, if you see a car coming at you pretty fast and he's not braking, maybe just doesn't see you. Again, the rear collision warning system could be a beep, a vibration, could be a screen that pops up on like your helmet. That would be cool. Or a screen that pops up on your TFT display, saying rear collision or something, as quickly as possible, so you can get the hell out of the way and stay in first gear at least. Or if you have an electric bike, you don't have to worry about gears or DCT. So my point is, having that is good. Now, frontal collision is also a plus if you do have it. It gives you the opportunity to be quite lazy and still somewhat safe. Because they don't have systems that automatically emergency brake like they do in cars now. And that's because they don't know the rider's orientation, how glued he is to the motorcycle. Whereas in a car, you have a seatbelt, you have your hands on the wheel typically. So an emergency, maybe even in cars, they don't have the emergency activate without a seatbelt put in. I think that's possible because the guy will go forward. But in a motorcycle, it's much more deadly. If the guy is not holding on to the bike and it just starts braking, it's a whole other issue. Same with if like the motorcycle were to accelerate by itself and turn by itself or something. You have the wrong lean positioning. Anyway, these are all important. So going on for the nimbility aspect is here's what I was gonna do. I was gonna buy the one that's like a base layer, comfort cooling, and then over that the Tech Air 5 Tech Air 5 Plasma, because the Plasma is level 1, but I'm not getting it for chest protection. I'll tell you, I'm gonna put another airbag over it, which is not recommended by any manufacturer, but I feel like I can test it and be fine. I don't think that both airbags deploying will be what's the word, deadly to me. And that was my whole solution for the neck immobilization, is because the Tech Air 5, it doesn't have good neck air immobilization, the Plasma. But in addition, with the Moto airbag, I believe they will push up my clothes near my head enough to immobilize my neck And the Tech Air 5 Plasma has shoulder protection, which, like I said, the Moto Airbag is just a vest. It's not shoulder, so it doesn't protect you here. And it also doesn't protect you here on your side. Whereas the Tech Air 5 the Plasma does protect you pretty well here, even if it is just impact level 1 for airbags, which is way better than armor, by the way. CE level 1 airbag is different than level 1 armor. So that was my solution, but here's the problem. One layer for the base layer, another layer for the Tech Air 5, another layer for the jacket I wear, which could be the Moto Airbag jacket. I'm still debating. I don't think it will be, but because arm protection, right? We don't have airbags for that. But abrasion resistance in airbag technology is just as important too, which is another whole debacle that needs to be gotten into here. Because let's say your airbag pops and then another impact happens. Well, now you don't have the airbag. So you want the airbag protected by an abrasive resistant material, which is why I do like internal airbags, because they go underneath your abrasion layer. But the Moto Airbag is an external vest, so is the Helite. And I think they made those to slide pretty well. Like, they won't pop, you know. And hopefully you won't get impacted after you fall off after you slide, which does happen. You slide, and hopefully it just doesn't pop until the crash is finally over. But yeah, the only unprotected areas in today's market with these airbags is the I'd say the feet. The feet are unprotected. If somehow you like hit a thing and your foot, compression is not protected. That's what I'm trying to say. Compression impacts are not protected. Even if you're wearing an airbag, if you hit something going pretty fast with your head or your body, the airbag will protect your body. Your head is limited to the helmet, which are only good for a 20 mile per hour differential of speed, which means the speed at which let's say you hit a car, you fell off your motorcycle, you're going 50 on the floor, and the car hits you and he's going 35. That's a 15 mile an hour differential. So that's what I mean. Obviously, if the object is stationary, then your speed and his speed of your head is 20 miles an hour, then yeah, that differential is also 20 miles an hour. But the problem with this setup is the layers. So I think it's 4 layers. It's the cooling base, the airbag is just for my top, the Tech Air 5 Plasma, then a jacket, and then a Moto Airbag vest over that. 4 layers is a bit too much. So what I was thinking was just taking the hit and going internal airbag fully on the top, and not getting the plasma, but getting the Tech Air 5 non-plasma, because like I said, that is the best I've seen, the best in terms of overall protection, CE ratings, and everything. So as long as you, maybe if this is the solution, that would bring it down to 3 layers. And so let's say I didn't need the base layer, I would just wear regular clothes, the Tech Air 5, and then a jacket over all that. Preferably the Night Rider jacket, because the Night Rider jacket has blinkers and red lights for braking built in, which is really good for at least not even night riding, it's also for regular daytime. You still can see the blinkers, you can see the braking more clearly than a motorcycle tail light. It just has a lot of benefits, and it hooks up to your motorcycle system with a box that's connected or something, and you're good to go. That would be the optimal setup. Now that depends on how that airbag inflates with that jacket on me and my weight. If I lose weight, then everything changes, right? So that's a great setup, and it's great for not only because that's a 3-layer system, and then if I replace my shirt with my with that cooling system, in case like it's really hot, like Florida or something, I'm driving, I don't know, then yeah, that would be the optimal setup. The only problem is, again, that airbag, that jacket needs to be big on me. I won't get a small fitted jacket because I want that airbag to puff up as much as possible, especially around here, and it should never be connected to pants because the pants hug your groin. Don't let the jacket inflate towards your head. You want the jacket to inflate towards your head. And it has shoulder protection, which is like really beefy, even beefier than it looks like a football player. So that airbag is as best as it gets on the market. So I think I'm gonna go that route, and it's cheap versus buying 2 airbags. Yeah, I get the Moto airbag, which has the greatest chest and hyperextension protection and back protection. But like I said, it's not worth it because it's expensive, 2 airbags, and number 3, the what do you call it? The layers, the nimbility is compromised. And also, like 4 layers is a lot of layers. You know, you don't want to be wearing 4 layers. I don't care what sport you're doing. It's just too much. So this is the idea. And so another good option is that company that makes that comp cooler is with this airbag system, which is a vest, and it's tightly fitted over you technically. So you don't want to put like a big insulated thing on you and then the vest. You want to put it like over a shirt, something thin, a base layer. So the great thing about it, specifically about the cooling system, is they make, like I said, a full body suit, but they also make just a shirt and a pant. So let's say you're wearing, and this is the other problem, is what about the market for pants? And like I said, pants are a weird one because pants don't have as many airbag options. There are no internal airbag pants, at least as far as I know. There's only 2 companies that make pants: Motorcycle and CX. CX Air product. I forgot. Aerodynamics. CX Aerodynamics. They make the Easy Rider airbag pants. The problem with the other company is they have the superior protection. I think they make Class AA garments, meaning their airbags are protected from poppage or abrasion as well as your legs. Class AA. Whereas CX Easy Rider, they haven't really told me. They said there was Class AAA, which is a lie. In their manual, it says A. But then they've switched fabrics. It's a smaller company, so they're going to be doing things more on the fly, I imagine. But the reason I chose theirs is because a big issue with in motorcycle accidents is broken ankles. Not just ankles, but broken shins. So that's a big one. Your shins getting hit. There aren't many protection armor for your shins made in any motorcycle jeans. I haven't researched it, so I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't seen that as a common armor area. And even if there is armor, It does not reduce. The airbag is way better than armor, not only in comfort, but in protection. Problem is, armor is static, so you carry it always. Airbags are not. Airbags, they go off and then they protect. But again, the abrasion resistance can be important depending on where you're sliding, right? Like if the airbag pops on your butt, it's gonna affect the ones on your legs unless they're separate systems. You know, we don't know. I don't know how they're made. But the Easy Rider does protect your shins. The issue is these aren't like jeans. These are zip-up pants. They go over your normal pants. And it's a tethered system. So a tether to the bike is needed, which is not a big deal if you're using like a cooling system. You're going to be tethering your jacket to the bike too. I know they make passive ones now, or like other ones, but those don't really. Those work, but they're not as good as like the full air conditioner system that I was thinking, which I may not need anymore. Because like I said, if I'm doing this 3-layer thing, then it's gonna be like probably not as hot as I imagined it to be. It might still be pretty hot. At which point I might invest in I think the vest. So the vest would go over the airbag vest. So it would be like a shirt, Tech Air 5, and then cooling, and then jacket over all of that. And the jacket would be the Night Rider, I think. Again, that's 4 layers. The other option is replace my base layer, my shirt, with the cooling thing, which I don't know if it's washable. I really hope it is, because if it's going to be on my body, it should be washable. That's the option for that. And so now that handles it for my upper body. And again, all of this is connected by your blood, so if you cool your upper body, you generally cool everything else. Maybe if I'm lucky, the jacket I wear, or even the Tech Air 5, might have pockets that I could put like little cooling ice pouches or something into. Should be great for short rides. So this is a better introduction approach to motorcycling. But if you want to go the full route, then let's say you get a touring motorcycle, then I would recommend the full thing. You know, you don't need to stop that much. You don't need to be that mobile. If you're like going across states and shit, and you just are driving, then you should get the full-on air conditioner thing, because even though it's 4 layers, you're not riding a race bike. You don't need nimbility as much in your body as you do when you are controlling the motorcycle. So get the full air conditioning thing, because you'll probably be riding through hot fucking Texas or Arizona maybe. You don't want to deal with extremely hot weather. And not only that, let's say you go up north to Canada or something, you're going to be freezing. Now, I was like, well, they make really, really warm base layers. And that's pretty much all you need for really cold weather. Just put on a base layer and you're good. You know, with on top of your jacket, on top of the airbag pants. Because like I said, these airbag pants, especially if you don't go with the motorcycles, because the motorcycles, like I said, I don't know if I said it, they don't protect the shins yet. They may in the future, but not right now as of making this video. So because they don't protect the shins, even though they might offer better hip protection, I don't think they do, or at least abrasion resistance than the other company. I would say the likelihood of the airbag getting punctured in a fall is going to be much lower. I don't know for sure. than the importance of that being inflated on your shins. And if you buy motorcycle boots, which I'm gonna buy, what are they called? I'm buying motocross boots because they are the most protective for your shins and your ankles too. That's the more important part. And motocross boots do protect your shins pretty well. But like I said, I want most protection. So I don't want armor protection, which shoes are kind of like armor. They protect your shins through rotational structure. So they form a tube around your leg, and that tube has structure, has, like a metal, like a pipe. So if something hits it, the pressure goes not to the directly onto your, wherever it hits, it goes into the side of the circle. So it helps with big force impacts. Now on top of that, if you, let's say, hit your shins going at like 80 miles an hour, well, fuck, maybe you should have had not only those boots, but you should have had an airbag over it. And boom, that's how you know. You can never have too much protection. You can fuck up your nimbility, which means you fucked up your protection, or your safety, but in fucking it up, you also gain something. But if you have nothing on, then you're fucked. If you get in an accident, all that energy is going to be handled by your body, nothing external, And if you're someone who like needs their nimbility, and you need to ride without a shirt and like pants, so you can be ultimate Beach Boy flexibility, maybe that's the solution for you preventing an accident, from happening. If you put on a shirt, you're like, oh, I can't move, and boom, you ride into the pavilion. But I think that's a bit extreme. So nimbility is the key, and the balance. So the balance between nimbility and actual protection. So airbags are the best shot we have, and at stabilizing everything in an accident. So the layers, like I said, in summer to try would be a shirt, thin, maybe like an athletic shirt or something, I don't know. Tech Air 5. And not even the Tech Air 10 has the protection I see from that Tech Air 5. I could go look to see if it has the level 2 certification, or even the Tech Air 7 if it has it, but I don't think they do. That first Tech Air 5 was a gem, and they're probably discontinuing it, unfortunately, for this other shit that doesn't protect your neck or your shoulders as well, or your chest, I think, as well. The hips, right? You might think, oh, I need to get the Tech Air 10. If you get motorcycle jeans, airbag jeans, the great thing about those is you can wear one thing, and they have armor built in too, which you don't need. At least I would recommend finding some way to get shin armor, but I think it comes with knee armor, which is probably still important, because if you bend your leg, which I don't think you can bend your leg with these airbags deployed, I'm pretty sure, because they need you to walk, then the knee gets less protection in a bent knee situation. The knee, you might still want a piece of armor over it. And then it has hip protection too, but you don't need that, because like I said, the airbag deploys, and I don't know if it deploys over or underneath the hip protection, but either way, it's there. So it's nice to have 2 layers on your bottom, especially if it's summer. That's a good setup. You just have underwear and jeans, and the protection is all there. Long socks, and really nice motorcycle enduro, either enduro boots, not motocross, but enduro, like the Garn. I don't know how to say it. SG22, man, those look nice. And then as far as the hips go, you could remove them. I'm probably not going to remove them depending on my comfort when I wear everything. I've never worn it, so I gotta see. The only protector I'm thinking of keeping on my body is the back protector that comes, like, I think built in. I don't know if it's removable on the Tech Air 5 non-plasma. In the Tech Air 5 plasma, it's not removable. I don't know about the Tech Air 7 or the 10, and then I don't think the 3 even comes with a back protector at all. So it's more dependent on your jacket to have that in there. So, but yeah, those are the ones, and the Tech Air 3 doesn't cover your shoulders, so I wouldn't recommend that one for people who care about maximum bodily safety. And in a crash, you just don't know what's going to get hit, you know? You could, technically, like, the airbag could create a worse situation for you, too. I'm not saying that's not possible. Like, maybe your shoulders, had you not inflated them, but generally that's not the case, you know? But yeah, for me, I'd like to go somewhere with my motorcycle, let's say a cafe, right? I'd like to be able to go there and just take my gear off and look like a normal person. That's a big, it's a big thing I wanted, you know? But then I realized it's not really possible. And for the reason that you have boots. That's the only reason. Gloves and helmets and helmets and jackets even. I could figure out a way to, like, shove those in a place, especially if I have like a locked backpack or a locked thing on my motorcycle on the back of it. I could shove all that in there. But shoes, especially the ones that actually protect your feet and ankles, are bulky. Like, they advertise it as if it's like, oh, this is the best protection you're gonna get. No, they're lying. The best protection is that we have is the enduro ones, okay? So yes, you have more mobility with these other designs, and like they look like a regular shoe or a hiking boot at least, but they don't protect your shins or hell your ankles, nowhere near what the enduro boots do. Nowhere near. You know, you got to prepare for the worst too. So you're gonna look like a gearhead wherever you go, and you got to be okay with that if you're going after max protection. You're gonna look like a gearhead. But still, you could take shit off. Like, for instance, the CX Easy Rider pants are zip off. You just zip it off and it just folds, and you can take it off and put it in like a thing. Take your motorcycle jacket off, take your Tech Air 5 off. You know, obviously there's a lot of gear that you're going to be storing on your motorcycle. But when you fall, and you will fall, I don't know, but you're going to be thankful that you went through all this painstaking process to get all this gear and not go like an idiot on without anything, you know. So it's worth the extra poundage. It's worth it. The boots, I'm still debating if it's worth it, but I'm pretty confident that from all the things I've seen about people losing their foot or breaking an ankle, you want your ankle, if I just